All right, Jeff, thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. HealthPoint Biotherapeutics is a privately held high-growth company. We're focused on building a best-in-class portfolio of commercial products and also a pipeline in the wound care category. A couple of highlights for you. In terms of growth, this past year, 22% year over year. We had $149 million in 2011. We're also highly profitable in that our gross margins are in the mid-70% range. Our commercial portfolio is diversified. We've got several different revenue drivers and all have significant upside potential. Our pipeline is headlined by a next-generation cell therapy product that will be entering phase 3 for venous leg ulcers in the first quarter of this year. We've been spending a fair bit of time over the past couple of years putting our manufacturing platform in place to support the high growth that we're anticipating over the next several years. And we've got an experienced team, all of which we think positions us very well to take advantage of some significant demographic and disease trends that are propelling this market forward for the foreseeable future. And I'll just hit a couple of those highlights for you. In terms of the prevalence of wounds that are our target, we have estimated that total number to be 4.6 million. And the aging population, the increase in obesity, the increase in diabetes, and other demographic and disease factors are really driving this market significantly in the foreseeable future. Today, depending on which reference source you look at, the total product revenue that is associated with this market opportunity is currently in the $6 to $12 billion range. And we see, against that backdrop of a large and rapidly growing market, strong emergence, rapid emergence of the bioactive therapies. And the reason is that the current standard of care leaves a high level of unmet need. Here we're showing you the example of the diabetic foot ulcers just mentioned by Dean, and the standard of care healing rates at best are a quarter to a third of these patients, and that leads directly to a very high level of lower extremity amputations in the United States. In fact, diabetic foot ulcers are the leading cause of non-traumatic lower extremity amputations. And so standard of care is rapidly giving way to the bioactive therapies, as you can see in the differential growth rates between the two categories of technology, and the reasons for that shift are pretty apparent. So when we draw back and look at the market as a whole, we see it structured in this way, where you can see in the lower left, these technologies have really fully penetrated the market, and their growth rates are either negative to a slight incline. Where you really want to be in terms of position in this market is in the upper right. This is where the steeper part of the growth curve is, and that's where HealthPoint is focused, and we estimate the size of that category in 2010 to be $450 million, again growing at a compound annual rate of 50%. And so in terms of putting together our commercial portfolio, we have focused on several different factors. One is a diversification so that we have multiple products driving growth. We've also been focused on the continuum of care so that we have solutions from stem to stern in terms of managing these patients. And we've also focused on putting products together that all have significant long-term upside potential. And in the process, we have pulled in the only two approved biologics in wound care in Santyl and Regenerative, and then we have the industry's leading extracellular matrix technology with our Oasis brands. And due to our time, I'm going to focus my comments on the commercial portfolio on Santyl, which is a biologic debridement product which sits in a very, very strong strategic position, starting with the fact that it has a very broad label. This label allows us to promote Santyl for each and every one of the 4.6 million wounds that I mentioned before. And as it turns out, all of those wounds can benefit from Santyl therapy because by definition these wounds exist because some component of the skin has died, whether it's epidermis or dermis or some other structures, and that dead tissue has to be removed from the surface of the skin for that wound to progress towards healing. That's what Santyl is approved to do. It is the only drug in the U.S. market that is approved to do so. All the alternatives are non-drug in nature. All have significant limitations or drawbacks of one type or another. Santyl is unique in its value proposition in that it's biologically selective. So this protein specifically and precisely chews up and digests the necrotic collagen so that it can easily be removed and then doesn't harm the healthy tissue that the clinician wants to keep intact. And that value proposition has propelled this product to significant commercial success. Since we acquired it from Abbott in 2006, you can see a 49% compound annual growth rate. And this year, 2011, it exceeded our internal expectations and also significantly crested an important milestone in becoming the first and only wound care drug in the United States to exceed $100 million in annual revenue. Now, we are continuing to invest in the key drivers, including sales force expansions both last year and this year, allowing us to reach literally thousands and thousands of new customers to continue to build awareness of the Santyl value proposition. We also invest heavily in the Phase 4 program to build up that evidence base, not only to accelerate clinician adoption of the therapy, but also to maintain and support an excellent reimbursement position that we have both with the Medicare Part D drug benefit program and the hundreds of commercial payers across the country. And going forward, we think we've got a very positive outlook for this brand for years to come because the market segment at which it competes is still vastly underpenetrated. In 2011, we captured 12% of what we estimate the market opportunity to be, so we've got a lot of headroom for growth, and we think we're going to be the only drug in the category for a number of years due to the fact that we are approved as a BLA, so we don't have any generic cliff facing us like a lot of the products being discussed down the street have. And also, as we scan clinicaltrials.gov and the market in general, we don't see any products, comparable agents in Phase 2 development. So they're all years away, and in that meantime, we're going to be continuing to build out this franchise. So Santyl anchors our commercial portfolio. HP 802 is a technology that is our lead development program and anchors our pipeline. This is an allogeneic living cell suspension product comprised of 2 cell types that are delivered in a suspension of human fibrin. This product is painted onto the wound surface with a spray delivery mechanism, and the investigators over the past couple of years who have come to know this product from the clinical trials have told us that they really like that delivery mechanism for a cell therapy product. And this technology is based fundamentally on 2 innovations. One is that the cells don't make the product in 802, the cells are the product. And what we mean by that is the initial entrance into this space really were born from a tissue engineering philosophy where the cells are used to make the product, make the tissue. And so the product development process is focused on optimizing the tissue, not necessarily on optimizing the therapeutic quotient of the cells. In 802, our focus is all about the cells. We build it from the ground up as a cell therapy technology. And so our focus is on how do we deliver the cells most effectively and efficiently, how do we deliver them in a highly active state, and how do we deliver them, importantly, in the right dose. And that brings me to the second innovation, which is that HP 802, the cells are growth arrested. And so they do not multiply or divide or proliferate when we put them into the wound, and that allows us to control the dose, which is important not just in terms of satisfying the regulatory requirements that their agency has for a BLA submission, but also in terms of optimizing the therapeutic effect that we endeavor to have with this product. And let me show you where we are with that. What I'm showing you here are the combined results of our 2 most recent studies and our target initial indication, which is venous leg ulcers. Through the first 3 time points, you're seeing the results of our randomized controlled Phase 2b dose ranging trial. And then in the last 3 data points, I'm showing you the observational follow-on study that was conducted for a period of 6 months. And you can see at the primary endpoint in the Phase 2b trial, statistical significance between treatment and control, and this will be the primary endpoint in our Phase 3 program, and that p-value is 0.03. And you can see that difference was maintained throughout the 24-week follow-up period. And importantly, the low dose, what I'm showing you here in the treatment effect is the low dose that was applied every other week, which happens to be the lowest dose that we tested in these 2 trials. We tested 3 other doses that were either 2-fold, 10-fold, or 20-fold higher than this dose. And I think that amplifies the point that in a biological system, putting more signal doesn't necessarily give you a greater therapeutic effect. You can actually slow down or shut down that system if you put too much signal in. And so we think this was an interesting finding, an important finding. The FDA agreed with our decision to move into Phase 3 with this dose. We'll be starting that U.S. study in the first quarter of this year. The EU study will be starting a little bit later in this year, and we anticipate approval in 2016. And so sort of back to the main theme, we're focused on building what we hope to be the best-in-class bioactive portfolio in this category. Just a more granular look at our revenues in terms of the accelerating growth rate that we've had over the past couple of years. And based on what we see ahead of us in the next several years, we think this is a very sustainable growth rate going forward. And so our focus is on continuing to drive our revenue growth, very specific investments into 802 to get that to BLA approval, continuing to support our commercial brands with our Phase 4 investments, and then, of course, we'll hear this all week from all companies. We certainly want to look for new opportunities to expand our portfolio with technology that's complementary to what we have and is a strategic fit with what we do. And I'll close there and take any questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Questions for Rob? Going once, going twice. Rob, thank you very much.